But basically the idea here is that in Visual Studio, I'm going to go in and write some code, and I'm going to package that code up in a format that Azure's data center knows what to do with it, right? So I'm going to go out and I'm going to write maybe a website and maybe some worker roles, and so I'm going to get this collection of DLLs and content files and all that kind of stuff. Along with that, I also need to tell Azure how many copies of that web server do I want, or how many copies of that back-end processing service do I want. Do I have networking endpoints that I need to expose so I can talk to them from the outside world, and what are those endpoints, and what are the ports, and all that good stuff, right? So if you think about all the things that you might have to do on premise to deploy an in-house application, that's a lot of the same information that we need to bundle up into this package. And we ship that package up to the data center, and it's effectively a zip file that has all that stuff in it. It's going to extract that zip file and look at it and go, oh, okay, hey, we need 3 virtual machines for the web front end. We need 2 VMs to run these worker roles on the back end. Here's the code for the web. Here's the code for the worker role. Spin the VMs up. Now, those VMs are Windows Server VMs, right? They're Windows virtual machines. They're just built and managed by the Azure Data Center. Not only that, they're automatically service packed and hotfixed and all that kind of stuff by the Azure Data Center staff, right? So you're not having to go in and take care of that stuff. And as those updates occur, they'll roll them through your running VMs and keep your VMs up to date with the latest security patches and all that good stuff, right? So it goes out, figures out what VMs it needs, pulls the images, chooses from all the different virtual machines that are out there, where available, where it wants to run your code, and then basically goes out and spins that stuff up, right? So it's going to go look across the data center, find all the physical boxes that have room for the virtual machines you're requesting, and basically go out and allocate those virtual machines, right? So now somewhere in our data center, you've got some VMs running with your, that will be available for your code. It's then going to go out and basically deploy your code down to those virtual machines, pardon me, and then set up a network load balancer. So you get this load balance workload provided to you, and now exposes the public endpoints, and I can have clients out there in the world then come in and connect with this, right? So that can all happen through what we call deployment. I've got my network load balancer in place. Everything's chugging along great. If I had maybe a failure of my web front end or something like that, if it crashed, the Azure Data Center has in it a special piece of software called the Fabric Controller, and it's basically going to discover this crashed VM. It already knows what the VM was. It already knows what code was on it. It's going to go, oh, hey, let's just shut that VM down, go spin a new one up, and then just redirect the load balancer off to that new virtual machine, right? And that's going to happen transparent to you. You don't have to do anything about that. Now, if the one that went down was the only virtual machine that was running your website, while that recovery happened, your website was down, right? So you want to make sure that as you're deploying cloud services and that kind of stuff, if you expect that 99.95% SLA, you have to have at least 2 copies of every role, right? You have to have 2 copies of your web front end, 2 copies of your worker roles, whatever those are, so that should one crash, there's another one already running that the load balancer can direct all that traffic